Are we going upwind? The indicator says we're going upwind. But are we really? Because down here it says we're going downwind. So which is it? Are we going upwind or are we going downwind? In this video, we'll look at the difference between apparent wind, true wind, why they matter, and what a real true wind speedboat is. Yeah, breeze is a little bit aft, so we should probably run the assy. But we'll have a look and see if we might speed up enough to drag the apparent forward.
I believe they were decolonized in like 1955.
Is it on the lock or not?
Oh, we can get it on. We'll get off there.
Okay, we're on the mighty ship Outnumbered, which is a Gunboat 66, and we are going downwind. And we have full mainsail up.
Full main.
What do you mean?
Code 0.
Put the code 0 out. How far?
150. There you go. We're going upwind. 150 degrees. True wind. True wind. We're going
We're
upwind.
not going upwind.
Right.
Wind there.
So, yeah. So what we got to look at the moment, our true wind angle, okay, is 150, and our apparent wind is also way back here at sort of 120, 130. Apparent wind angle, there you go, 125. So what's going to happen is, at the moment we have full dagger boards down, which we don't need because we're running this deep. What we're going to do is bring the boards halfway up, because we still need grip in the water. The code 0 is like a massive jib with lots of power, and it has a lot of sideways pulling power. So we need to resist that sideways pulling power. And the way you do that is with the dagger boards. But because we're going to bring the apparent up forward to around about 70-ish degrees, you don't need the full dagger board grip. If we were going to bring the apparent wind all the way forward to around 60 degrees, 55 degrees, 60 degrees true apparent, we would need full dagger boards down. But we want a little bit of slip as well, so that we don't climb up too high towards the coast. So that's also why we're bringing the boards up a little bit, so we do slip sideways and downwind a little bit with it. Okay, but when this apparent wind comes forward, the true wind, because we're going to have to rotate the boat around, the true wind will still be very far aft. Now this seems to be a big head boggling thing for a lot of sailors. I'm not going to point out names and things, but apparent wind and true wind are two very different things. The true wind angle is the wind. If you're sitting still, that's on the sea, or you're standing on the land stationary, the wind that you feel is the true wind. When the boat is moving along, you feel, standing on the boat, apparent wind. Okay, So the wind that is apparent to the boat is once the boat starts moving through the true wind, it bends or moves the angle of the wind relative to the boat, and it also increases or decreases depending on whether you're going upwind, downwind, or reaching. So, but we're talking about dagger boards here. So at the moment we're going to lift the dagger boards up a bit because we don't want a heap of grip in the water, and we do want to drift a little bit sideways with it. So we'll pull the dagger boards up.
No, I was going to say also drag.
Drag, yeah, exactly. So that's the whole big thing with dagger boards, is that you get rid of the drag. If you don't need it, you pull them up, and it's a safety thing as well. When you pull the dagger boards up, you have the dagger boards down, they grip in the water, and they're basically something for the sails to trip over. So the capsizing moment of having the dagger boards all the way down, or if you've got a catamaran with keels, they're always all the way down. So it's something for the sails to trip the boat over and capsize it. Okay. So that's why I'm a big fan, safety-wise, of dagger boards, because you can adjust them and play with them, and actually make the boat safer because you can pull the dagger boards up. Super important little thing to consider if you're ever thinking about a boat with or without dagger boards. Having dagger boards gives you a lot more safety options to sail with. Let's put some boards up.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, so these dagger boards don't protrude past the deck.
Yeah, these are shorties because it's got the cruising dagger board. So there's marks in the lines here. Because it's got the covers and the boards don't come up above the deck, you can't see. That's one of the really nice things with dagger boards like what we have on Ikea and other boats. When the dagger board sits above the deck, you always know what the height is. When the dagger board hides inside the boat like this one, it's really nice and neat and clean, but you have to have a bunch of other indicators to let you know what the dagger board level is. So
Yeah.
it's not so instantly intuitive as to knowing where the dagger board is. And because this boat's got bugger all winches in it, there's a lot of cross sheeting that has to go. Because we got the sheet for the zero over there, we can't use that winch, we're tied up. So we have to come and use this windward one. So all the manoeuvres become a little bit slower. The line management becomes a bit more challenging. This is why I love slave rings.
Got
as
slave
well.
rings, yeah. That
Got
video's
told to bloody hearken about getting slave rings for smaller winches too, because I reckon slave winches on the small performer winches will completely change these new cockpit layouts. Like I've just done a cockpit layout for a 14-meter cat, and there's only 4 winches in the cockpit for the whole boat, which is bugger all. But I've got to use all these other deflectables and things like that. If we had slave rings on the bottom, and don't hearken.
well, and yeah, we got a good video because Gunboat 68's got slave rings, and so there's a good one on our members site about that one.
Yeah.
What they all are.
So let's wind the bus up and change the camera.
All right. Okay, and for the more observant people, can you see our highly technical
Don't use the autopilot head.
It's like, don't touch the autopilot tape, right?
Alright, Harry and Ollie, can you deal with the shaft locks, please?
Yep, I got it.
So at the moment we're on heading hold. And heading hold with sails like this, particularly on a boat like this, is not good. So we've got to change the autopilot. So start by...
Maybe you should explain why heading hold is not good.
So heading hold on an apparent wind boat is not good because...
And I'm going to stop you again there too, because an apparent wind boat is a boat that generates its own apparent wind. So it goes fast enough that it generates its own wind.
Correct. Yeah, and this boat very much does that. And we'll show you that in a second. So I've just come up and, okay, so we're now going to start, see the apparent climbing as the boat speed starts climbing. So our true wind angle is currently at 110, and you can see our apparent wind climbing and working forward as the boat speed comes up. The load's coming in. Okay. There we go. You give us a couple of turns on that zero sheet, Ollie. Good, that's good. Hold that. I want to run deep still. Okay, so now we're at 117, nearly 120 degrees true, and we're at 60 degrees apparent wind. Okay, so if you look at this apparent wind, some cruising boats would consider this upwind, but if you look at the true wind, that true wind is still well and truly aft of our beam at 110.
Ooh, myth busting.
Myth busting. This is why we don't want to use steering hold, okay? We actually want to use wind.
Heading hold.
Okay, this is now set up to steer to the apparent wind. So as the wind comes up and down, or the boat speed goes up and down, or the wind direction changes a little bit, basically the boat is now steering to the telltales of the sail. That's what this function is. The apparent wind setting is like if you're in the cockpit with the tiller and you're looking at the telltales of the sail and you want to keep the telltales flowing on the sail, that's what this function does on an autopilot. So it's super important on fast boats to sail to the apparent wind downwind, okay? Because you've got to chase that apparent. If you had it on a true wind setting, you'll always, if you've got a spinnaker up, you'll always run over the spinnaker.
Yeah, your spinnaker's going to collapse.
Exactly, because it's just steering to the true wind and keeping that relative. As the boat accelerates, the apparent wind runs forward. The shoulder of the spinnaker then collapses, and then the kite collapses. The boat slows down, the apparent wind comes aft again, then fills the spinnaker, and the spinnaker goes boof and sort of refills, and sometimes it goes boof and pops, depending on how old your sail is.
Or whether or not you wrap around the forestay.
Yeah, exactly. Collapses, wraps around the forestay, then half fills, and then you've got this massive,
different problem.
yeah, half-filled spinnaker wrapped around the forestay. Okay, so at the moment I've got the setting at 59 degrees apparent wind angle. I want to come down to 60. Pushed it too many times. So the boat will now follow the apparent wind and keep this apparent wind here at 60 degrees, and this true wind will always stay approximately around this 116 to 120-ish, depending on the wind. Now if you look here, we've got speed over ground. Okay, don't look at the speed through the water, because the speed through the water is a big lie on this boat, because this speedo in this boat is missing one of, there's supposed to be 3 paddles on it, or 4 paddles, sorry, and there's only 3. So the speedo doesn't work. So we use the GPS here. So this is GPS speed over ground. We're doing 8.3 knots over the ground. There is no current where we are. And the true wind speed at the moment is around 8 knots as well. So we are truly doing wind speed.
More than it was
right
for that second there, yeah.
Yeah. The other big mistake I see people make where they're claiming they're doing wind speed is they'll look at the apparent wind speed. Okay? Now if we look at the apparent wind speed, let's put the autopilot away here. True wind speed. Apparent wind speed, there it is right below it. So true wind speed is 8.5 and the apparent wind speed is nearly 9 at the moment. Okay, that's because we are actually generating our own wind, and because it's quite beam on. If we were downwind, this apparent wind speed would be very low. As if we are downwind and the wind is behind us and the boat's moving forward, the apparent wind drops, and this is what happens, and this is why people think they're doing wind speed with apparent wind downwind. They got their spinnaker up and they're nearly going square, and there's 20 knots of wind, and they're doing 8 knots of boat speed, and there's 9 knots of apparent wind, and they're like, we're doing wind speed. No, you're not. You're doing apparent wind speed, but you're not doing true wind speed. And that's what this boat is. It's a true wind speed boat. Right? If you're doing apparent wind speed, you are not a boat sailing at wind speed. To claim numbers with apparent wind speed is complete BS. wind speed and angles are only showing you what is relative to the wind blowing over your boat. Okay? Not the wind that is blowing in relation to the world and the ocean around you.
There we go.
Okay,
Now you-
grab that.
Boys have just put the code 0 away because we're sort of zigzagging down the coast a bit and it's going to take us forever to get there. So we're going to put up the Jenica, see if we can't run a bit more squarer downwind.
On the lock.
On the lock?
Wow,
That's a bit easier than the other one, isn't it?
much nicer lock.
Yeah, it's a Packnor lock, not a carbon one. Okay, so we've gone from code zeros to spinnakers. So we're going to have a look and see how that changes all of the apparent wind and apparent wind speeds in relation to true wind angles and true wind speeds, because it is quite a different sail and sailed in quite a different manner. But first, let's go and have a look. There it is. A whole heap of whiteness up there. Yeah. There you are. There it is. Hello, spinnaker. Making lots of flappy spinnakery noises. Right. We'll slow down a little bit. I'll show you why. Back to our instruments here. Speed over the ground, 6.6 knots. Speed through the water, 0.0 knots. So, how you remember I was talking about our paddle wheel was missing a thingy? Well, it's missing a thingy, but it's also got some growth on it, so it's jammed and no speed through water. Anyway, but we've set all of the computing to be done on the GPS and not speed through water. I know some people are going to argue that's not right and all the rest of it, but that's a whole nother argument I'll have with you later. True wind angle, 140 degrees. So this is our boat. Woo! This is our boat here. You can see the indicator here. It's 140 degrees from the bow to the aft back corner there. And our apparent wind is at 90 degrees. Before, we had it quite forward at 60 degrees and the wind was at 120. Okay, so it's still debatable whether you run the code 0 or not. It's probably faster. VMG on the polars, I'd have to have a look, but this gut feel is faster. Anyway, but here we look at true wind speed, 9.6 knots. Apparent wind speed, 6.3 knots. Now this is a big mistake that everybody I seem to see on YouTube claims that their boat's doing wind speed, because they look, speed over ground, 6.8, 6.9, wind speed, oh look, 5.6, I'm going faster than wind speed. No, you're not. True wind speed is what you need to be looking at, not apparent wind speed. Now why is this the case? Because at the moment our boat is sailing away from the breeze. Okay, we're generating our own wind, so the wind is actually coming at 90 degrees, not at 140 degrees. So with our boat speed going forward, the apparent wind speed is a little bit softer than the actual true wind speed. Okay, so I hope that clears things up a little bit. So when people are claiming wind speed, always go back and have a look whether they're claiming it in relation to their true wind speed or their apparent wind speed, because they are not the same thing.
Okay, let's explain the situation. About 9:30 in the morning, and we have We're quite slow at the moment, doing 6 knots, but the breeze is directly from behind us. It's about 15 knots. It's supposed to get up to 19, 20 this afternoon. And at the moment we have, if you can see out the window there, we are goose-winged. So we've got our 2 head sails up, which we put up at about 4 o'clock this morning. And Shane and Harry and Ollie are just putting up the mainsail. See if we can see them. It's raining, so you can see I'm not super keen to go outside. And even the forward cockpit's wet.
Alright, we've got to get green one locked on.
Oh, what reef is that? Reef number 1. Oh, reef 2. We're going quite conservatively.
Yeah, that's really going to be a very challenging thing to hoist the main directly downwind while it's blowing 29 knots.
Oh, you're going to try and hoist it while we're going downwind?
Yeah.
You're running out of real estate.
I'm running out of winches really fast.
And floor
My
space.
Cockpits need more than 3 winches.
All those slave rings we were talking about. Well, actually no, because that wouldn't solve the problem, but would certainly help.
Well, this is where flying jammers come into play.
Flying jammers.
Flying jammers.
Should get some footage of that.
Whoa, that's so cool.
9.7.
Well, the conditions have changed a lot, so we can actually talk about and show clearly the difference between apparent wind speeds, going apparent wind speeds, and how they relate to true wind speeds, because it's quite windy and the wind is straight up the chuffer. So let's have a look at what's going on. You can see here our true wind and our apparent wind are just about aligned until we accelerate down a wave, but they don't separate very much because the wind is directly behind us. Okay, now if we look here, we've got 21 knots of true wind speed, so there's a little bit of wind. Look out there. Video never relates how big the waves and the wind are. Anyway, so we've got 20 knots of wind and we have 13 knots of apparent wind speed. So 13 knots of apparent wind speed. So we have, if I was standing still in the middle of the ocean and I was not moving, I would be feeling that 19 knots or 20 knots there. Okay, but because I'm not standing still in the ocean, I'm on a boat that is moving forward at 8+ knots. I'm only feeling an apparent wind speed of 12 knots. Oh, 10 knots now because I'm going a bit faster. Right. So, do not confuse your true wind speed with your apparent wind speed when you say in relation to what your boat speed is. Your boat speed, if I surf down a wave here, we were doing it before, this is why I wanted to make the video. The boat was surfing, oh there we go, we're doing 8.7 knots of, no, not quite there.
Slow down a bit.
We've slowed down. Yeah. And basically our speed over ground was the same as our apparent wind speed. Okay? That does not mean you are doing wind speed. That means you happen to be getting close to doing apparent wind speed, which is not true wind speed, which is not a wind speed boat. Now you'll see here our speed through the water is very low, and like I mentioned before, that's because the paddle wheel's broken. So we can't use that as an indicator. And I've actually set all the instruments up so that all of the calibration is done off the speed over ground, GPS speed. People will argue about how that works, but it is actually technically more accurate getting your true wind from your GPS speed over ground. That's a whole nother argument. Come on, I want the speed over ground and the apparent wind speed to line up again. Oh, there we go. 10 knot speed over ground, 10 knot apparent wind speed. Hey!
Wind speed boat, yeah!
Wind speed boat. No. Where's my sack of gold?
Right here, Dad, it's standing on it. That's cool. Oh, the other rainbow's gone now.
That was cool. Good shot of rainbow. What a great shot of rainbow. Now, only drama with forward cockpits compared to the aft cockpit is it's wet and rainy out there. Now the good thing about getting old and having younger crew is that they get to go outside when it's shit house.
Started raining again.
It has started raining again, I noticed.
I don't think you did actually.
There's lots of rain dots.
I can fix it.
Oh, now you're gonna have to wash it.
Okay, Cunningham off.
Yep, cutting out in home.
Topping lift's good.
I don't think it needs one.
Yeah, copy. Okay, about to round up. Alright, now I can communicate with them. Bit to port. Oh yeah.
Okay, down. You okay? Alright, come just sit down. Just sit down.
Okay.
Ready? Ready?
It's gonna be a nightmare to park. Let's go full boards down, Harry.